It fired up straight away. Perfect. Not bad at all. And you're only giving it like 20% throttle. I was actually barely touching it. Honestly, I never thought it could look this good. Look at that, it's seamless. It'll appear to be a single piece after blowing the dust off. And check this out. The rear deck lid is looking awesome. We've painted the hinges, extended this bit, and so once the car is back in one piece, we can tell people that it's an actual Lambo, like some special limited production version. I mean, the entire thing looks factory now. We are getting real close. It used to look like a Lambo from 150 feet away. That distance kept shrinking, and now it looks authentic even from 6 feet away. It looks alright. Seamless. So I take it we'll just paint the whole thing one color, right? Sure, let's do the whole thing. To keep it all looking the same. It's just that we used to have a gap, through which you could see all of the pipes, and other stuff you're not meant to see. Also, this part is meant to be underneath the glass on a real Lambo. If you look at it from the side, the glass panes overlap like roof tile, but here you used to have this gaping hole. These are all small final touches at the end of the day. Overall, they're sort of unnecessary, but we know that it all has to be done, and we want to finish by the end of this episode. Another important detail is the cross right above the engine. Oh yeah, right. For a while I couldn't get around to beginning work on that piece. And I remember saying that it shouldn't be difficult. Like, all you have to do is weld together 2 pieces of pipe, and it shouldn't take more than a couple of hours. I still haven't finished it. I'll be adding some reinforcement like on the original. You've basically got a couple of triangles here. I've examined a bunch of photos and they're all different. I've seen them made out of carbon fiber. Those actually might have been aftermarket. But I'm assuming it's more of a design feature. Otherwise, what does it do? Keep the motor from popping out? When Aventadors crash, the ass tends to separate from the cockpit. You noticed that, right? Yeah, in almost every crash, the back end is ripped off, and the 2 pieces each go their separate ways. Yeah, hopefully we never have to test that, especially since the cockpit won't detach in our case. Okay people, today we're set to go for a drive. The time is 1:30. We wanted to head out as early as possible. But look at what's going on. We're not even close to washing the car. Instead, Yegor is wreaking havoc. Now, we're okay. It's just that the deck lid is heavy and installing it is a 2-man job. We're fine. Oh, really? Yeah, the car's definitely ready for a drive. But instead of going to the scale, the car looks like it needs a wash and some detailing work. After spending a year in the garage, the interior used to be new and fresh. We even used to take our shoes off before getting in. You remember that? But now it's trashed. Today is the only day we can go for a drive, unfortunately. And so we're gonna have to cancel that weigh-in, even though we really wanted to weigh the car. However, we are gonna go for that drive around town. You'll notice that after removing the tint, we still have bits of film left on there. It is very hard to get under there, though we will remove those bits eventually. Ideally, we'll need to remove the dashboard for that. So to avoid getting in trouble with the cops, we've decided to remove the window tint. Are you taking something out on the car? That way there won't be any residual glue. Be honest, Igor, is the car starting to irritate you? It has been for a while now. I'd imagine you'll never agree to do such a project ever again. Well, if you do decide to get into something like this, you have to remember that you're never making it into an actual car. It's not going to be perfect no matter what you do. It is possible to do a quality restoration of a real car, but building something from the ground up is always going to give you questionable results. We are in the middle of a terrible heat wave. Why don't we just remove the windows altogether? I mean, they are cracked anyway. Yeah, it'll be way better without them. Though we're not taking it to a car wash like that. First remove the tint, then the window glass entirely. We can skip step 1 on the other side. Maybe take separate parts to the car wash. You gotta love Ilya's style, man. Act now, think later. This will be the second time we're driving the fully assembled Lambo. Now that we're out in the light, we see that the Lambo desperately needs a detailing job. The wrap looks a bit rough after 3 years, but overall this is a $4,000 wrap, and the quality is definitely there. It spent 3 years in a garage, where it was bombarded by debris from us welding and grinding. Nevertheless, it looks alright. Yegor is not a fan of vinyl wraps, because you can't polish it. Over here we had to replace a piece this big, but if this were paint, we'd repaint it up until this edge, and after a polish, you'd never even notice. You can also buff out tiny scratches, but here you're looking at a total rewrap. Wouldn't it be cool to do this at speed? Like as a prank. Wow, he even drifted it. Man, look at how flat it is. It's like 2 times lower than any regular car. Driving at 60 miles an hour on the highway is pretty terrifying. We are getting a lot of heat from the engine, and it's not like the outside air is cool. The engine is adding an extra layer. That's a pretty bad wobble. It's like a washing machine in spin mode. The whole thing is going like this. It's pretty fast though. How does it feel overall? Pressing the gas is the only thing that feels good. How are we doing? We're driving a car that we made ourselves. The steering wheel is in position, so we can now reattach the cover. We've modified the gearbox, so it should have perfect shift action. When the engine is off, you can get it into gear without pressing the clutch, but even then it's very notchy. The grab point is very low for some reason. As long as the brakes work, we should be fine. The brakes do work. Okay, now it's my turn. I am a bit scared to drive this around town, to be honest. This'll be an adventure. I don't understand, it worked just fine back in the garage. I'm afraid I might break it. I don't get it. Try pumping the clutch pedal. Perhaps the gearbox itself is dying? Oh look, there it goes. First gear, neutral. Like nothing happened. Uh-huh. Second, third, fourth. They all work now. Yeah, you need to pump the clutch pedal. The gearbox ain't the problem. But you don't need the clutch when the engine is off. That's exactly what I said. But here we are. This car is a proper handful. It is very unstable. But on the other hand, it does drive. It has turn signals, headlights, brakes. And it looks wicked, man. It really eats up the bumps, doesn't it? Yeah, it's pretty compliant. I also think we need to shut it off at stoplights, because of the exhaust gases coming into the cabin. It did get better after we extended the pipes, but that didn't solve the problem. Honestly, this isn't all that pleasurable. But it is interesting. And quite a rush. I think that an adrenaline junkie would really enjoy driving this thing. It is so low, man. Every car next to us is literally twice as tall. So in a regular car, you press the clutch pedal and change gear. But in here, you press it, try changing gear. And if that doesn't work, you pump the pedal 3 times and you should be good. Look at the steering wheel wobble. The engine really comes alive at higher revs. And it sounds like an actual Lambo. Judging by the timer on the camera, I was only driving for 11 minutes. But it was an hour's worth of stress, honest to God. Anyway, the clutch and the gearbox seem to be acting up, and we have no idea why the steering wheel is wobbling. This is what a proper lunch looks like for a Lambo owner. Now that we've eaten, let's go find some scenic place in the city center. We had to find a route with fewer stops and traffic lights, with how stressful it is to change gears. I guess it needs an automatic transmission then. Why didn't we go with an automatic? I don't even know what to say. Even after explaining so many times, the question still comes up. Don't give it full throttle. You flooded the engine. Press the gas. Give it just a little bit. Don't press. Dude, it's either press or don't press. Can you make up your mind? Press the gas, don't touch it, give it some more, less. You were going foot to the floor. Not necessarily. It's written all over Yegor's face how sick he is of this car right now. That's what he's been dealing with these last 4 years. The battery's dead? Yep. Do we have another one? Back in the garage. Maybe push start it? Okay. Yum. The first ever Lambo to be push started. It might not have been charging while we were crawling at around idle. Let's see. No wonder it wasn't starting. Good thing we're right next to a gas station. Fuel level is on par with our preparation. With this car, you tend to forget about such benign things as fuel or the number plates. Yeah, especially when you can't get it into gear. You're always preoccupied with glass and all of that. Okay, time to push it to the gas station. We'll buy some jumper cables, use the BMW to jump start it, and we'll be good. Why didn't we bring jumper cables with us? Did it ever break, though? During any of the previous drives? I don't think it did. That's why I was confident. A bit of cardio is always a good thing. Well done. Destroying Mother Nature. This isn't gonna end well. That is really bad. Driving this thing is an ordeal with the smoke and the stalling. We can raise the idle, it is doable. Is the starter motor broken? You know, while we're on a road that allows us to easily drive back, I think we should head to the garage. While it can still drive? Starter's broken. Yeah, hopefully we can make it back. It is possible to push start it, but it'll just stall at the next light, meaning we'll have to push it again. We've driven about another half mile, and it is just unbearable with all the smoke. We're gonna need oxygen masks, Yegor. We've been preparing to smoke up an embankment these last 5 years. A lot of folks are coming up and asking if they can take a picture, but there is so much work that still needs to be done. I don't know, it was either a vapor lock situation or it was weird. The temperature was going up, but the fans weren't switching on. Perhaps the thermostat got stuck? Man, this thing's possessed. We need to find a cross. Now imagine the same thing happening to you in a real Lambo. You'd be like, the plastic, the clamps. This is gonna cost thousands of dollars to fix. Which is why you should use water instead of coolant, because it's not gonna ruin anything. Instead, you'll get a steam wash. We all seem to have reached a boiling point here. That's why all of this is happening. So you're just gonna keep pouring it while it keeps spitting it out, until it stops. We have overheated the engine, so it's probably going to some hot spot and boiling in there. I don't know, man. This thing is full of mysteries. Okay, Igor has filled the cooling system, we've poured in water from the Neva River, and there is no more smoke. So while we were filming some filler material, Igor and I were discussing what we can do with the car. Someone offered me $16,000 for it a couple of months ago. Part of me is like, oh cool, 16 grand. But on the other hand, that doesn't even cover the cost of parts. Much less labor and even renting a garage for 5 years. So if we take all of that into account, that constitutes a small fortune. In my opinion, there cannot be anything rational about this car. This was pretty much all about having fun. The same principle applies to selling it as well. It's certainly not a matter of profit. What's funny is that the guy who offered to buy it said he'll finish the build. That has to be the coolest part. I guess you shouldn't sell it to someone who says otherwise. It has to be someone who knows how to work with plastic, metal, and so on. Yeah, well, it can strand you at the first light. And that's when you have to be able to think your way out and find some way to reanimate the car. Drive away without calling a tow truck. Even getting it onto a tow truck is a headache. You know, pretty much every single failure you could see coming from a mile away. We were able to get the clutch to hold the power, but now it requires some adjustment. Yeah, it's no longer slipping, but it's also not quite disengaging, which I don't think is related to the disc or the pressure plate. The issues we solved included a slipping clutch, which we fixed, and it no longer slips. There were some problems with the suspension that are now a thing of the past. Yeah, there was, is, and always will be something. That's just how the car is. Here's another thing. We made it so the turn signals make a clicking noise, so that we don't leave them on. But with the engine running, you simply can't hear it. So instead, we're gonna have to set up a light. Also, we were praying that we don't run into a speed bump. That would have been extremely stressful, especially going over a fresh, tall one. Going over the smaller bumps, the car felt fine. We had decent enough damping, no rubbing, so the suspension does work. Man, that Lambo goes. He's doing some pulls, and even in sport mode I can't keep up with him, despite having 400 horsepower. I'm giving it full throttle and he's pulling away. I'm doing about 90, and he's on fire. Oh shit, he's literally on fire. And oh, does it turn heads. When you're inside that car, you're not really paying attention to it, but now I can see that everybody is looking. 1, 2... Okay, that guy didn't look, but 2 out of 3, I mean, that thing draws a lot of attention. I honestly thought the car was gonna burn down, dude, when you were going full throttle. I do have to say that at 90 when I floor it in the BM, you guys are flying away from me. I was redlining the damn thing and I just couldn't keep up with you. Also, it was shooting flames from the exhaust when you were going wide open, and at some point I even saw it shoot a flame that didn't want to go out. I got it all on camera, I'll show it to you later. We might want to lean out the mixture. 100%. If we don't want to total the Lambo. So it was like burning? Yeah. I started honking my horn, but you probably couldn't hear me anyway. Yeah, we didn't hear anything. I did a third gear pull and got up to 95 instantly. Yeah, it really goes like hell. We were right to swap in that V12. That said, it does require some fine-tuning. We weren't able to weigh the car today, but we should do that in the near future. So the sun is setting and it took us half a day to make a 30-minute drive, as estimated by the navigation system. The car broke down, we fixed it, then it broke down again, we fixed it one more time. But despite its best efforts to return to the garage, we were able to make it to St. Petersburg's city center. I think it was a tough drive because it was post-hibernation, with all of the systems having to get up and running after a prolonged pause. Then again, I mean, the only real serious issues were the gearbox and the clutch. Everything else works reasonably well. And it's really amazing how fast it is. We never even used any gear above third, I think. Not even once. The gearshift issue has to be associated with the clutch. I mean, it's such a mishmash of parts, half Audi, half Nissan, loads of custom bits. We even have a cable from a boat somewhere in there. You can feel how when you're pumping the clutch, pushing down hard and going for a gear in that moment, it actually goes in. Not so much when you press the pedal down once. But aside from those minor issues, the car is done. That list we had in the beginning of the video, which included the turn signals, extending the exhaust to get rid of the gases and everything else, it's all done. Each and every item on that list. I think it'd be safe to say that at this point, the build is complete. At the very least, we got the car to where we wanted. So big thanks to everybody who supported us over the years. And to everybody who said we were destined to fail, we made it and here's the proof. Big thanks for tuning in, hopefully you enjoyed watching the video. Subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss future episodes. Make sure to like, comment, and see you soon.